Hi, I'm Erica, for those of you who don't know me. I'm the top scout at Scout Digital Training, and today I'm going to be chatting with you all about Google Ads. It's one of the 3 topics that I focus on alongside Google Analytics and SEO, and I've had lots of questions about it recently. So today's session is going to be giving you an overview of the different types of ads you can run with the Google Ads platform, and then we're specifically going to be running through some recommendations for search campaigns, which are the text ads that appear in Google search. So we're going to be running for about 1 hour. Anybody who's attended one of my webinars previously would know that I try and cram a lot in and often go a little bit over, but I'll see how I go. And this webinar is being recorded as well. So you will automatically receive an email with a link to watch the recording of the live broadcast. Usually comes out about an hour or so after we wrap up the broadcast once it's finished processing. And we then pop them on our website in the future as well. But as registrants, you'll receive that automatic email within an hour or so of the broadcast to be able to watch. A little bit more housekeeping before we get started. Below the screen, you should be able to see 2 areas. Welcome, Mandy. You should be able to see 2 areas. We've got a question section. So it'd be really great if you have any specific questions to do with Google Ads to pop them in that section there. And I'll try and keep an eye on them. And if I don't answer them throughout the course of what I have prepared, I'll run through them at the end. We can have a bit of a Q&A then. And it's just a bit easier to use that question section rather than the chat box. I get a little bit distracted, but chat's really helpful for this kind of welcome stuff. And there's also a polls section as well. So you should be able to see a poll down there. And I'd love it if you could just pop your vote in just to give me an understanding of whether or not you're currently or if you've previously used Google Ads, just a quick yes or no vote. And that'll just give me a bit of an understanding of where everyone's at as well. Because I've had a chat to a few of you who have registered previously, and I know that some have a little bit of experience. So good to know who we have on the line today. Okay, can't see the question or poll boxes. Your layout might be a little bit different. It generally sits below the main screen area. I know some people have just found, yep, great. Oh, it's always hard as the presenter because I see things differently to the way that the audience sees it. But yeah, have a scroll and a click around, and hopefully you can find it in there. So that's where you can pop any questions and I'll answer them verbally. Cool. Okay, I'm going to turn my video off so we can focus on the slides now. I don't want to give up too much time. So like I said, we're going to be going through what Google Ads can do, and then more specifically looking at some recommendations for search campaigns. And if you can just answer that poll, if you can find it underneath the slides, just letting me know if you are using Google Ads currently or previously, yes or no. Oh, looks like the yeses are winning at the moment. And like I mentioned, if you've got any questions, as things come up, pop them in the question box. I'll try and keep an eye on them, but if I don't answer them during the course of what I have planned, I'll do a bit of a Q&A at the end. Hopefully run for about an hour, but this session is being recorded and you'll be able to get automatic access to that replay. So why use online ads? Obviously, there's a lot of things we do to try and reach and engage our audience with our website and optimizing our content and using social media and email. But ads are really, really effective for reaching an audience that you can't organically. So it's really good for reaching new audiences, or where potentially from a search campaign's perspective, you might be struggling to get the organic search results that you want in Google search. So search campaigns allow us to make use of those text ads that appear above the search results and get those responses a lot more quickly. You can also tailor your messages and offers and target specific people using online ads as well. So a couple of really handy ways of why online advertising is a great aspect of your overall digital marketing campaign. So there are different online ad types, and this includes different online ad types within Google Ads as well. So predominantly they're in 2 large groups. We've got our search ads which include shopping ads, so our text ads and our shopping ads, and these are triggered by keyword searches. So these are ads all designed for people who are actively looking for information, and those results appear in a search engine such as google.com.au. We've then got more display ads, which include video ads, where we're actually pushing our content out into platforms and into places that are being used by a new audience that we're trying to attract. So there's lots of different targeting options available. So it may be making use of things like remarketing, where people have visited your website previously, or actually selecting people based on their demographics or interests. So these ads can be a little bit more passive because we are pushing them out at people who might not necessarily be in the market, but hopefully we've done our segmenting and targeting correctly and they will be of interest. And they can also be stopped by ad blockers as well, so just something to keep in mind. So I do like to think about these two different types of ads as in like push and pull. So I mentioned push a bit with the display ads, where we've made a decision that we want to reach this type of audience and we're pushing our messages out at them and hoping that they're going to be attracted by the design and the message and the offer and the timing and the placement and all of those things. Whereas with search ads, we're actually pulling people towards us because these are people who are already interested in what we have to offer and are already actively looking for information. So they're searching, not necessarily searching for us, though they may be if we're using branded keywords, but it's really effective for when people may be searching for products or services that we offer and they don't know to come to us specifically, and we can make sure we appear in the right place at the right time. So in regards to Google Ads, there are 5 main different types of ads that you can run. We've got our search, display, shopping, video, and universal app. So there's a bit of a mixture there. And even though you'll see through my slides here, I still mention AdWords a bit. Google did make this transition from calling the platform Google AdWords to Google Ads last year. AdWords, I guess, does favour the search aspect, search campaigns aspect. So they just wanted to make it clear that their advertising platform offers a lot more than just text-based ads. As you can see, we do have those search ads, which we're going to focus on in the webinar today, and the shopping ads, which also can be triggered by keywords, but they've got, like I mentioned, display ads, which can use remarketing ads. They're those banner ads that we look at, video ads, and universal app ads as well, where you can promote app installs. So search campaigns are going to be what we're focusing on today, and they are those, could be 1 to 4 text ads that appear at the top and maybe the bottom of the organic search results in Google Ads. They used to appear on the right-hand side as well, but that placement got removed recently, so they're just focusing on those top and bottom placements. So with organic search, you'll always have, providing you haven't searched for an incredibly obscure keyword, there will always be 10 organic search results per page, which are ordered based on Google's organic search algorithm. And then it's the Google Ads auction that decides which ads are going to show above and below those organic results there. Then, like I mentioned, we've also got display ads. As you can see, our Scout remarketing ads are running at the moment. Some of you may have seen those on websites that you visit. And then Google also offers shopping ads as well. So you can see on the right-hand side, depending on what you search for, you can see sponsored shopping ads. So the different ad type, obviously designed for product-based ads where people are selling those products online. It's a really effective way of getting people who are looking for products to buy. So we're going to focus on search campaigns. So how do search campaigns work, those text ads? Basically, it's an incredibly fast auction that happens in the background every time somebody types in a search query. So at the same time that Google's organic algorithm is running, Google's ads search campaign algorithm is running as well. And it's choosing which ads to show and ordering those ads based on ad rank. So there's 5 factors that make up ad rank. And it's even though your bid, so how much you're willing to pay for someone to click on your ad, cost per click is one of the factors. It's not the only factor. So the person who does appear in the top position will always pay 1 cent more than the person below them, but you're not always going to pay your maximum cost per click as well. And we'll talk a little bit about budgets and bids later on. But there are some other factors that come into play as well. So the other 4 are the quality of your ads and the landing pages that they're linking to. Google is all about providing the best results and the most relevant results to their users. So they really want to push, just like they do with SEO, they want to push quality content and quality ads so that they're giving their users a good experience. So that's why we need to be really conscious of the quality of our website, the quality of our pages, the quality of our ads when we're creating our campaigns, so that we're actually providing the best experience and getting the best results for our ads as well. So this then plays into the ad rank threshold. So basically better quality ads tend to rank higher than lower quality ads. So ads that have that relevance between the keywords they're bidding on, their ad, how the ads are written and the ad copy and the landing pages they're linking to as well. And the search context also comes into play as well. So just like with Google's organic search algorithm, the Google Ads algorithm takes into account factors like where the person is located when they're searching, what device they're searching on, if it's a mobile, if it's a laptop, and any other user signals. So previous search history can also come into play as well. So some of these factors we can actually program into our campaign. So we can define a specific location that we want to target our ads at. We can even define if we want to target a specific device for our ads as well. So say just mobile users. But there are also the individual's previous search history that's going to come into play, which we don't have control over. And the final factor in ad rank is the expected impact from ad extensions. And I'm going to chat about ad extensions as well, because I found a lot of people aren't aware of what they are, and they're a hugely incredible tool for increasing the presence and visibility of your search ad. They don't cost you anything else, and they tend to improve click-through rates as well. So do stick around for that. So when you start to create a campaign in Google Ads, you will be asked, depending on your campaign type, what goal you actually want to achieve. So select a single goal that will make this campaign successful to you. And these goals can vary depending on which ad type, which campaign type you choose. So for search campaigns, the 3 main goals that are suggested are sales, leads, and website traffic. Or you can choose to create your campaign without a goal. By selecting a goal, it just means that the Google Ads platform will recommend particular settings and features for your campaign success. Or if you choose without a goal, you still have options to all of the different features available. You'll just need to be really conscious about, in your mind, what it is that you want to achieve from your ads. And that's something that we stress in the workshops we run, that each campaign we run should have a single goal or a single objective. Some of these, to be honest, may actually couple, because if you have a website that provides online sales, you might primarily want to get traffic to your website, but then ultimately you want them to buy. Or you might want to attract leads through that website traffic as well. But it's preferable to decide on that end goal that you want, because there are some automated bidding strategies that you can use, which can be based on conversions. So it's not just selecting the goal, but how you can actually track that as well. So is your website set up to be able to automatically track those sales conversions or those leads that occur on your website? Because those conversions can be set up or imported to Google Ads to make use of the automated bidding, where the Google Ads platform will try and show your ads to people who are most likely to convert and achieve that goal, which is really important to think about, because ultimately you want to know whether or not your ads are working. So just a bit of background into setting up Google Ads. Now, I do recommend using Google Ads over AdWords Express. AdWords Express is a much simpler version of Google Ads, but it is also incredibly limiting as well. So you don't have access to the full targeting and campaign features that you do in Google Ads. So we do focus on Google Ads the full Google Ads platform in our workshop and explaining why we recommend certain settings and certain features that you don't have those options to in AdWords Express. So setting up either option requires a Google account. And I do recommend, if you're creating a new Google Ads account, to use a master account rather than a personal account that's related to the business, because you can add extra users to that account, and it just makes it easier if you do need to pass that account on to somebody else or somebody else needs to manage it, that there is that overall master account that is the primary owner, as opposed to it potentially being connected to you if you leave the organisation you're working with, or that role gets handed over to someone else. It's not impossible to move around, but it just makes it a little bit easier. I also recommend, if you can, use a Google Ads account which is already linked to your Google Analytics in your website. It makes it, again, much easier to be able to link your Google Ads and your Google Analytics accounts for that tracking. Again, not impossible, but does make it easier. And when you are setting up your ad account, you're going to be asked to select your currency, and this cannot be changed. So it should be your local currency of where you're based, and also your time zone, which can be changed once, but again, it's preferable to set your time zone to the area that you're located in. And this time zone will be used for any scheduling that you're running on your ads, because you can set your ads to run at particular times, and will also affect the reporting as well. So while the reporting's not doesn't necessarily occur in real time, you can look back at activity per day and per hour, and that historical reporting is going to be based on your time zone that's been selected in your account settings. You're also going to be asked to add your payment information. And this occurs when you set up your account now. You used to be able to bypass it and add it later on. So it was really good to be able to do a little bit of planning and get ready with your campaign before adding a credit card. But now you do need to add your credit or debit details before your account can be set up and before your campaigns can run as well. There must be an active payment method. And billing by default is charged automatically every 30 days or when you reach your payment threshold. So you can start without having paid anything, and generally that threshold begins at $100. So depending on what your daily budget is and your bids are, when you hit that $100 or when the 30 days comes, whichever is sooner, your card will be automatically charged, and that threshold increases over time as well. So once you've demonstrated that you're a long-term advertiser, that you consistently have no issues with your credit card, that threshold can increase to $200, $500, $600, $1,000, etc., etc. You can also opt to make manual payments in advance rather than wait for that threshold or those 30 days to be hit, which can make it a bit easier for some people to manage. And if your payment method fails, your ad campaigns are automatically paused. You are sent an email, or the account holder is sent an email to notify them, and the ads won't be reactivated until that payment method is fixed. So, and that requires actually logging back into your account and either changing those card details if they need to be changed, or pushing through that remaining payment manually on the existing credit card. So Google Ads will only try and take that payment once and then pause the campaign. They won't start that. They won't continue to check for that amount. You have to do that manually. And GST is now applied to ads as well. So up until a couple of years it wasn't, which made it really challenging for those of us who were paying for ads for clients but then had to charge GST on top of it. So it is an advertising option that you can claim GST on as well. And in regards to your budgets and bids, we'll chat about this a little bit more in the campaign settings. Your campaign will have a daily budget. So you have to choose how much you want to spend per day on your campaign. And then this is calculated by Google Ads into a monthly budget. So they use an average of 30.4 days per month to calculate what the monthly budget is. And the actual daily spend can fluctuate slightly. They do say they sometimes look to spend up to twice your daily budget in a single day, but they don't exceed that monthly budget. And with all the campaigns I've worked on, I can see that that's very, very strictly adhered to. I certainly try and get the most they can out of that monthly budget, but it isn't exceeded there. And then from that, you can automate or set your maximum bid, so your cost per click, how much you're willing to spend every time somebody clicks on your ad. And like I mentioned, you don't always pay your maximum cost per click. You'll only ever pay 1 cent more than the person below you. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. In regards to what you should think about for your budget and your bid, this is going to depend on your overall campaign settings and what keywords you're targeting. So some keywords can, if they're not very competitive, can be quite cheap. So you might be looking at something like 5 or 10 cents per click. Other keywords are a lot more competitive and more expensive, and they may be, $5, $10, even $20 cost per click. So it's going to require a little bit of research on your keywords to understand what that cost per click is. And then that needs to be obviously taken into account with your budget, because the other factor with your budget is not just the keywords, but the actual location you're targeting as well, because the bigger location you're targeting, the more people you potentially have access to. So generally within South Australia, we have a relatively small population, so you can sometimes get away with doing quite effective and cheap ad campaigns, particularly if you're targeting, say, just Adelaide. So it might be possible to start off with, say, a $5 or $10 daily budget, which works out to just over $150 or $300 a month. But again, that's going to depend on what that cost per click is for your keywords, because if you have a $5 daily budget but you're trying to target a $10 average cost per click keyword, you might be able to get one of those in a day if Google's using your, twice your daily budget, but then your ads are going to stop showing. As soon as your daily budget is exceeded, the ads are going to stop showing for the rest of the day. So a little bit of maths needs to be done there, a bit of planning to think about how you are going to run your campaigns. Just having a look at a question here from Renata. Can I run a campaign for just 10 days or so? Yes, you can, but just keep in mind that the way that Google Ads manages that budget, it does prefer to turn it into a monthly budget, and like I said, can use that up to double your daily budget. So you might not spend exactly 10 times your daily budget. You can set start and end dates for your campaign, but once that campaign date has ended, that campaign can't be restarted again. You would need to duplicate it or start another campaign if you wanted to do something similar. But at any point, you can actually pause your ad campaigns as well. So if you wanted to run it for 10 days and then pause it, and then see what happens, if you wanted to reactivate the same campaign later on, then that could be an option as well. So definitely, like with search ads, the intention for the search campaigns is going to differ depending on what that goal is. If you're wanting to look at driving consistent traffic to your website, consistent leads, consistent sales, you might set up more of an ongoing campaign as opposed to a shorter campaign-based campaign. But then, yes, alternatively, if you have a very specific goal in mind or are running an event and you want to run more of that short-term campaign, you certainly can, but it'll depend on what kind of search activity there is for your keywords during that time frame. So hope that helped. Okay, so also just want to quickly mention Google Ad grants. In case you're not aware of them, non-profit organisations may be eligible for up to $10,000 US as a monthly ads budget to use the Google Ads platform. There are a couple of eligibility factors, so do either Google this or check out the link to look at full details. You need to apply for the ad grant and obviously have your application accepted. You need to be a valid charity, agree with Google's required certifications, and have a live website with substantial content. Certain nonprofits are ineligible for Google Ad grants. The only exception to these ones are philanthropic arms of educational organisations. So, but again, they would need to specifically apply just for that philanthropic arm and have some dedicated web content available there as well. There are some limitations with how the Google ad grants can be used. So they can only be used for text-based ads, so only those search campaigns, not display ads or video ads or anything else. And the ads will always appear below paying advertisers. So you're not necessarily going to get that top spot depending on what keywords you are looking at. And all of your campaigns must be keyword targeted, so you can't use the display option for search campaigns, which I don't recommend anyway. And your maximum cost per click is US $2. So that's going to be something else to keep in mind in regards to what keywords you are trying to bid on, and what that cost per click may be for them, so your ads may appear lower. There's also a number of eligibility requirements as well. So there are program policies that do need to be adhered to, and there's also particular performance criteria. And they made some big changes to these at the beginning of last year, and the biggest one was a 5% click-through rate on ads. So if your campaign drops below that throughout the month, then your grant can be revoked. And 5% click-through rate for ads is much higher than average. 2% is considered to be the average. I'll always push for more because it demonstrates that the ads are more effective, but just something else to keep in mind. Google ad grants are certainly not a set and forget. And nonprofits can run both a paid Google ads and a Google ads grant account side by side. They'll be run separately, but they can be done so that you can make use of the extra features in your paid campaign. Okay, so structuring search campaigns. I find that people can get quite overwhelmed when they jump into Google Ads. So we spend a bit of time in our workshop just going through the different components of the ads account and campaigns, and do this planning before we jump in. Because once you are in there and creating your campaign, you do get pushed down a certain path. So there's these four main components. We start off at the top level with our Google Ads account, and that has a unique client ID. So ideally, there should be one account for the organisation, as opposed to using your account to run multiple client accounts through if you are a digital marketer working with multiple clients. Google Ads do actually offer an ads manager, which allows you to access multiple accounts, and that's the best way to manage that component. And your ads account can contain multiple campaigns and different types of campaigns as well. So each campaign, as we talked about, should have its own individual goal, and it's going to have a single campaign type as well. So it's either going to be a search campaign or a display campaign or a video campaign or a shopping campaign or a universal app campaign. And you can have multiple versions of those campaigns as well. So you may just run search campaigns and have multiple search campaigns. The campaign settings are going to dictate how many campaigns you have and how you run them, but usually, because it's at that campaign level that we set the location, so where we want our ads shown, the budget, what that daily budget is, and the start and end dates if they apply, or whether or not it's an ongoing campaign that you can pause and enable manually. Within our campaign, we'll sit one or more ad groups. And our ad group, these are for search campaigns, our ad group is a set of keywords and a group of ads. So each ad group should have its own specific theme or topic that then relates to which keywords we are targeting and the ads that are being shown against those keywords as well. So rather than just having one ad group and throwing hundreds of different keywords in there and hundreds of different ads and hoping that Google can sort it out and show the right ads to the right people, it's best to separate your ad groups into different themes or topics if you are promoting different products or different services, to make sure there's that relevance between the keywords, the ads, and the pages that the ads are linking to. And then at the bottom level, we've got our ad, which at its very basic level is comprised of headlines, descriptions, and a URL, which I'll go through a bit more closely. Just to answer Sophia's question, if you're using your grant, how do you do paid ads on the same account? No, sorry, you can't do paid ads on the same account. You would need to have two separate Google Ads accounts, one that has the Google Ads grant and then a separate Google Ads account that is a paid account. So they cannot be run on the same account. Okay, so keywords. With search ads, keywords are absolutely fundamental. And these are the words or phrases that people type or speak into search engines that are used to then match them with your ads. So it's absolutely important to spend some time selecting your keywords and then, like I mentioned, putting them into those different ad groups. So similarly to what I suggest when you're tackling SEO, you want to spend a bit of time doing your research and planning with your keywords. So you can brainstorm, you can ask people what they would Google, you can check your Google Analytics or your Search Console, you can use online keyword research tools. Google Ads actually has a keyword planner, and there's also an ad suggest that you can use during your ad group setup as well to suggest different types of keywords. But what I'd really stress is focusing on high quality relevant keywords rather than putting in, like I said, hundreds of different keywords and hoping you're going to connect with the right type of people, because in this instance you are spending money every time someone clicks on your ads. So you want to make sure they're the right type of person searching for the right type of keyword who's really going to be interested in what you have to offer. So it's also good to consider the different sections of your website, and you might group them by different products or services. So if you're looking to run an overall campaign for your organization and you offer 3 or 4 different products or services, they may be your different ad groups that have their own different relevant keywords. But it's all about thinking, what do I want my searchers to be looking for? Think about those options as well. But the example I give in the workshops is training. So I could run an ad campaign and use the keyword training. But that could potentially, people could be looking for all sorts of things that are not relevant to the type of training that I do. And this can happen a lot when we throw in some kind of vague or general or very broad keywords, or potentially use broad matching. They could be looking for any of these types of things. Whereas if I wanted to focus specifically on people who are looking for Google Ads training, then I'm more likely to be connected with people who are searching for ads training, Google Ads training course, or wanting to learn Google Ads. You just need to think about how to get as close to that searcher who's really, really going to be interested in what you have to offer. So like I mentioned, there is the ad suggest option. When you go through and set up your ad group, you can either type in or paste your keywords in the box if you've done your previous planning, or you can get some keyword ideas, as you can see there on the right-hand side. And they can come from your website, so you can paste in your website URL and it will suggest some keywords here that you can press the cross and it'll automatically add them in. And occasionally it might show you that there are potential monthly searches as well. There's also a more detailed keyword planner within the Google Ads platform, but this is just a really easy way of doing a bit of research and some planning while you're creating your ad group. Or you can also type in kind of like your primary or seed keyword instead of adding your website, and that will give you some suggested keywords there as well that you can add in there. The other thing you need to consider when you're setting up your keywords is there's actually different match types, which is really, really good for trying to get as relevant making your keywords as relevant to your audience as possible. So there's 4 main types. We've got broad match, which is going to look for synonyms, misspellings, all different types of keywords that might potentially be related to your keyword. It's the default match type. It's not one of my favorites because I find you can often get a lot of really irrelevant keywords in there. There's also broad match modifier, and these kind of different symbols are how you actually, you can type them into that keyword list this way to identify the different match types, or you can just tick the checkbox in your keyword list and choose which match type you want it to be. So with broad match modifier, you can put a plus in particular keywords and say only match this keyword with particular phrases that definitely include this one or more keywords. So broad match modifier is a really great way of potentially being considered for lots of different searches, but only if they definitely include certain keywords. Phrase match with the quote marks around it. Phrase match is another one I like quite a lot because you can pop if there's a definite 2, 3, or 4 words that you are very confident will be included in a whole range of potential keyword searches, you can pop them in those quote marks and it's going to look for any search terms that include that phrase in that exact order, which is different to the broad match modifier. Those words can be in any order, but it must include them. With phrase match, it must include that phrase in that exact order. And then exact match in those square brackets, that keyword would need to exactly match what someone's looking for. So if I had Google Ads training as an exact match keyword, but somebody searched for Google Ads training Adelaide, it wouldn't show my ad because it doesn't exactly match that keyword. Whereas if I had Google Ads training as a phrase match keyword and somebody searched for Google Ads training Adelaide, it would match because Google Ads training is still included in that keyword, even though there's other words around it. And then the fifth component we have is negative keywords, which is really great. So separately to your main keyword list, you can actually list negative keywords, which is don't show my ad if the search phrase includes one of these keywords, even if it matches my ad in another way. And this can be really valuable and something you can add as your campaign progresses as well, because you can add keywords and you can add negative keywords as you go and edit them. So negative keywords might be if there's a particular location that you definitely don't service. Often one we use a lot is job or jobs, because we're setting up search campaigns for people who are looking for services rather than trying to advertise jobs. So you can put negative job and negative jobs. And you can look through the keywords that people are actually searching for when they're being shown your ads, and sometimes that can give some great suggestions for negative keywords to add over the course of your campaign as well. Just going to answer a question from Nathaniel in the chat box. Is cost why you would choose phrase match over exact match? No, there's not necessarily any cost difference between these keywords. There could be, but the only difference is how it's actually going to match. So I find exact match can be a little bit limiting unless you know that there are a huge number of people who definitely look for that exact phrase in that exact order. Phrase match, I find, provides a bit more context, but also allows you a bit more flexibility as well in case people add some extra words before or after. But you can actually run different match types in a single ad group as well. So you could have both an exact match and a phrase match for the same term, and actually see which one gets searches and gets clicks and gets results as well, and make some changes based on that. Okay, so we're doing a very high level thing here now. So we're going to imagine that you've done your keyword research, you've picked the best keywords to start your campaign with, you've decided which match types you want to use, and now we actually get to write our search ads. So remember, we want specific ads for each group that are matched and are super relevant to the keywords that we're trying to target people. Now, Google Ads have made some big changes with their ads in the last 6 months. So previously, we had 2 headlines and 1 description. And now we actually have the potential of showing up to 3 headlines and 2 descriptions. So ads are getting much bigger and allowing us a lot more room to actually speak to our potential searchers as well. They're also preferencing the mobile version of the ads in the ads platform as well. And it's a really good reminder that more people are actually searching on mobile devices these days. So this is an example of a preview that it will show you when you are setting up your ads. Nothing is going to go live until they're approved and you are ready to start your campaign. So you can actually see these previews as you type in or copy and paste in the text for your ads. So the main search ad components, like I mentioned, there's those up to 3 headlines. So you can just choose to use the 2 and the optional third, and you've got 30 characters each for those, including spaces, and then they're separated by that pipe, so that vertical line that you see in between those headlines. You've then got up to 2 descriptions, so you can use 1 or 2 descriptions, and then 90 characters each. They used to be 80 characters. We've got a few extra characters, and that includes spaces as well. And you can type that in, it's going to show you if it goes over, and you can change your ad around to try and make it fit that character limit. You've also got your URL. So there are different fields for your destination and display URL. So your destination is the URL of the page that you are actually linking that ad to. But sometimes that page might be deep within your website and quite a long URL. So the display URL that's shown with your ad might actually be, is good to be much shorter, and often it might be just the your website domain as opposed to the full URL of where the ad is actually going to within the site. And it's best to link your ads to the actual page, including the information and where people can do the thing that you want them to do, rather than sending them to your homepage and then it's up to them to try and find the information that you're looking for. We want to make it as quick and easy for our audience as possible to get to the information they're searching for and do what they want to do, because we're paying for that privilege. Google Ads have also introduced responsive search ads as well, and this is where you can provide up to 15 headlines and up to 4 description lines, and Google's then going to mix and match those ads to try and find the best combination. So they're still going to display up to 3 and up to 2 descriptions, but rather than you having to create different variations of your ads, they're actually doing that work for you. So I haven't played around with this too much because generally I like to control exactly what's shown with my ads, but it's good with your ad groups to have at least 3 or 4 different variations of your ads, so you can actually test and try and see which ads people respond to best. But these responsive search ads actually do that for you. Because one of the settings within Campaign is automatically optimize, which is show your best performing ads more often, which is really, really great. If people tend to click on or tend to convert on a certain ad, that's the ad that we want Google Ads to show them more often, rather than us to manually be managing that change. So when you're writing ads, it's important to keep in mind what you want them to achieve and make them as effective as possible. So we need to be really specific. We need to try and attract our audience. So put yourself in their position where, what their stage of life or what their situation is, which is causing them to search for that term, so that they're going to be attracted to your ad. And we also want to make them feel empowered as well. Because when people are empowered, they're more likely to feel good about the action that they're taking. So a few tips for when you're writing your ads, apart from adhering to those character limits, is really trying to highlight what makes you unique. And this can help to do a bit of research and look at what other advertisers, so type in your keywords, see what ads are coming up, see what organic results are coming up, and what is it about your service or your organisation that makes you unique and can make your ads stand out and attract the right type of people. Your ads obviously need to be relevant to your keywords as well. And if you can include your keywords in your ads, it doesn't necessarily increase the match type at all. It can affect the quality score of your keywords, but from a user's perspective, it makes that connection with, this is what I search for, that's what the ad says, they're obviously providing what it is that I'm looking for. So it's great to have that connection, particularly if you can use one of those keywords as one of the headlines. It obviously want the ad to be relevant and not vague, because like I said, we're paying for the privilege of appearing in these search results. So we want them to know exactly why we are the best fit for what they're searching for, and then encourage them to take that next step and take that action. So having a clear call to action in your ad. So, visit for more information, sign up now, learn more, read more. These little phrases are great to add at the end of that description. Your ads should also match your landing page as well. So where possible, the keywords you're looking for, the keywords you're targeting, should appear within your ads, particularly as one of the headlines rather, and also look to have those keywords on your landing page as well. Again, it's great for the user to have that consistency, but Google Ads looks at this process and this journey as well, and makes those assessments on our landing pages and on our keyword quality score to show that there is that relevance between what the ads we're targeting and where we're taking people. Sadly, it's generally to avoid people who are doing quite dodgy ads, but it makes sense for us as well. And you want to consider mobile searches, like I mentioned, and having that preview where you can see what the mobile version of the ad looks like is really useful, and experiment with your ads. So create, like I said, up to at least 3 or 4 different versions, or make use of that responsive search ads, and then use that auto optimize, which is on by default, which is automatically going to show your most effective ads more often, because you never know. It could be just changing the order of the words or the headlines or a slightly different call to action that can be the difference between your ad campaign being really effective and not so effective. So I always say that successful ads don't aim for the most impressions or the most clicks, but the best impressions and the most relevant clicks as well. So we want to be looking for that high click-through rate. And this is where you might have, like, there's no magic answer for how many keywords you should have. And like I said, you can add and pause your keywords as you go. But often some of my ad groups may only have 3 to 5 highly targeted keywords in there that usually use that broad match modifier or phrase match that are really closely related to those ads, so that I'm making sure my ads are shown to the right people. Hopefully they're being attracted to my ads, and I'm getting the right people to click through. So like I mentioned, the average click-through rate for search ads is 2%. Google ad grantees need to aim for 5%, but I really push our students to aim for even higher than that as well. So if you can be getting 6, 7, 8, 10, we get 15 and 20% on some of a click-through rate on some of our client accounts. And that's a real indication that you've got that targeting really, really tight and effective there as well. Okay, a couple of questions here about click-through rates. I'll answer Mandy's first of all. So Mandy said, if we're getting a lot of impressions but not a high click-through rate, should we be looking at changing our keywords type? Potentially. The thing that I would always check first if you're getting lots of impressions but low click-through rate is whether or not you have selected in your campaign settings to only appear in search results or appear as text display ads as well. And that's where you'll actually have the text ads that appear as display ads on, say, blog posts. So it's when people aren't actually searching, but they're appearing as one of those target display ads. It's an option that's often in the search campaign settings by default, and I do not like it because I think, just like I've mentioned, that push-pull thing at the start, display ads have a very different purpose to search ads, and Google can find all sorts of places to display your text ad where people are not going to be interested in clicking on it at all. So if you're running search campaigns, I'd always suggest to just run them as dedicated search campaigns only showing in search results. So check your campaign settings first of all. Then again, if you're not getting a high click-through rate, I would start at looking at what keywords, particularly if they're very broad match keywords. There's, in the keywords report section, there's an area called search terms where you can see what search terms people have actually typed in that have shown your ads. And that's where you might find some that are quite vague or not really related to what it is that you're actually doing. So it might be good to refine your keywords, either using different match types or adding some negative keywords as well. The third thing I would look for, if it isn't an issue at those two levels, is your actual ad copy and whether or not it is, specific, empowering, has a clear call to action, is really attractive, and it might be worthwhile creating some new versions of your ads with some different copy to see if you can attract those clicks there as well. So I hope that helped, Mandy. Cool. So ad extensions I mentioned. Ad extensions are awesome. They're not available for Google ad grantees, unfortunately, but they are on paid accounts. And these are opportunities to offer additional information. They make your ad larger, which helps it stand out more, and it tends to encourage higher click-through rates. So you don't pay any more. Yes, Rubina, they are amazing. You don't pay any more for ad extensions. You still pay that same cost per click, whether or not wherever people click on the ad. It's just one cost per click, but it allows you to give extra information such as phone numbers. So there are call extensions. You cannot include phone numbers in your ad headline or description. If you want to include a phone number, it must be added as a call extension with a verified phone number through Google My Business. You can also add location extensions, which show maps and opening hours, which are really great. Again, uses Google My Business. There's site links, which show extra pages on your website. There's call out extensions, structured snippets, app extensions, messages, promotions, price, all sorts. So they may not be relevant to everybody and every campaign, but I'd always encourage you to look at them. And usually the ones most campaigns can use are site links and call outs. We've just got some examples here. So site link extensions allow you to show extra pages on your website. So they're a bit of a tricky one because they might not take people to the page that you actually want them to visit through your ad, but it can get them to your website. So it's good to think about those extra pages that might help get people across the line if they're searching for more information that you can share through your blog or your case study or your about section, or other promos and bits and pieces. So you can have any number of site link extensions, and they generally show between 2 to 4. So it's good to have at least 4 there. There's also call out extensions. So this example was actually showing 4 different call out extensions. Call out extensions are up to 25 characters, including spaces, and they're generally just short phrases, really good for sharing like features or benefits or extra options there as well. And these are shown again in addition to your headlines and description. And these examples I have in here are actually from the old version with the two headlines, but they're also showing the website there as well, and that shorter 1 description. And then structured snippet is a bit of an interesting one. So with structured snippets, there's about 10 different headings or titles you can choose from. So it's going to depend on whether or not there's a heading that's relevant to you. They're ones like courses, styles, brands, neighborhoods, that type of thing. And then you can add a list of items beneath it. So the structured snippet's only going to work if there's a relevant heading there. So I find styles and types are kind of vague ones that you can sometimes mention. But brands is a good one if you work, if you're a service provider who works with specific brands. So I've worked with some tradespeople and mechanics who deal with specific brands of white goods and vehicles respectively. So it's a really good way to show these are the brands that we actually work on, and again attract people who may be searching for providers of that type of service. So I'll just jump back here quickly. I've got a couple, I've actually done really well on time, so you might need to watch this replay back and slow it down a bit. So you can create your ad extensions either when you are first creating your campaign, or they can be added and edited in the future as well. And those ad extensions can actually be added at any level. If you think back to that structure we looked at, you can set up ad extensions at the account level, so they can appear on potentially any campaign. You can add them at the campaign level, at the ad group level, or even at the ad level as well. So if they're ones that are going to be relevant to all of your campaigns, like the call extension, the phone number is always going to be the same, or the location is always going to be the same, it's helpful to set them up at the account level so they automatically filter down to your campaigns underneath without having to be set up individually. So there's a bit of planning and a bit of stuff to think through before you get your campaign up and running, but you can work on it and leave it paused until all of these things are set and you're ready for it to start running. And like I said, manually pause that campaign, but also add to your campaign and edit as you go. So adding extra keywords or extra ads or extra ad extensions there as well. So I touched on this briefly at the start in regards to tracking your results. So at the very start of setting up the campaign, we'll ask you what your goal is. And at that point, I would also suggest you consider how you can automatically measure that conversion as well. So is that a sale that's being tracked through your e-commerce tracking on your website? Is it a form submission that is being tracked through Google Analytics goals or that type of thing? You can manually create Google ad conversions with a tracking tag and some tracking code, so it may need some developer assistance. But what I really love doing is making sure all of my conversions are set up in Google Analytics first of all, so that I'm tracking the results regardless of where people come to the website from. And then Google Ads allows you to import those conversions directly from Google Analytics into your Google Ads accounts. You can pick and choose which goals you want to import, and then that can automatically track them against your campaign as well. The exception to that is with those phone calls. So if you are using call extensions, you can opt to use phone tracking. It doesn't actually record the phone calls for you, but it will track where people have actually tapped on that number and used click to call. And you can opt to record that as one of your conversions, so phone calls as a conversion, which is a great way of measuring leads and inquiries as well. You also want to make sure you've linked your Google Ads and your Google Analytics accounts. And like I mentioned at the start, it makes it super easy if the master Google account has access to both of those. And there is an option that I always recommend using, the auto tagging, which will automatically tag your Google Ads appropriately and send that data through to Google Analytics, so that in your acquisition channels, you should be able to see a paid search channel, which is all of your traffic that's coming from your search campaign. And then further down in the Google Ads section in acquisition, you'll be able to see the activity from your Google Ads campaigns married up against what those people are actually doing on the website as well, which is super, super useful. So that's really great to be able to see, yes, we got them to the website, but once they got there, not only did they convert, but did they bounce straight off? How long did they stay on the website for? Did they do what we wanted them to do? All of those types of things. So just got a question here from Beck. Is it a good idea to use people's names and keywords if it's a service being delivered by a particular person? Yeah, absolutely. If your research demonstrates search activity for that person, that people are definitely looking for the services provided by that person. Generally, if they have a relatively unique name, it's something that you can optimize for organically relatively easily. But obviously, Google Ads allows you to tailor those messages. So if that person has a specific offer or a specific event or something coming up, then it's good to be able to use Google Ads to target that as well. And the same with brand names. I mean, I focus more on general terms usually. So like I mentioned with those examples with Google Ads training, it's people who are looking for training as opposed to looking for Scout specifically. But sometimes you might set up one ad group which is just uses the specific brand related keywords or that person's name keywords, so that you can absolutely own that space as well. And you often see that with companies like the telcos do it a lot, and the banks sometimes. They'll actually be running paid ad campaigns, and lots of software actually, they'll run paid ad campaigns for their brand name, even though they might own the top spot organically as well. And that way they've got, they really own that search result there. So I hope that helped. Okay, so just to wrap up, that was a super, super high level look at Google Ads and just some things that you need to consider with planning and structuring your campaign. And like I mentioned there, this is being recorded, so if you do want to go back and re-watch this a bit more slowly and do any of that campaign planning, you can. We do go through all of this a lot more slowly in our public workshops, and we have a couple of those coming up. So our Introduction to Google Ads workshop is actually all focused on setting up effective search campaigns, and that runs for a full day. We have one coming up in a couple of weeks at Intersect Co-working in Adelaide. So that's where we'll actually be going through the campaign planner that we have and helping you with some resources and some time and some guides to select your keywords, organise them into different ad groups, talk about match types and how they can work, actually start writing your ads, creating your ad extensions and setting up your campaign ready to go. So depending on how quickly you work, you may actually get that all through during that session there. We then follow that up next month with our Google Ads optimization half-day workshop. And this is intended for coming back and looking at your in-progress ad campaign, reading through all the reports and interpreting the results to improve and optimize your campaign. So we'll look at things like click-through rates, what you can do to improve your click-through rates, conversions, what you can do to improve your conversions, and just really focusing on understanding all those different reports and what you can do to improve your overall campaign results. Now, our early bird rate for our Introduction to Ads course actually finished yesterday because that expires Monday, because it expires 2 weeks beforehand. But as webinar attendees, there's a code here. There's also in the offers section, you should be able to see the offers section below the screen. There's a link there to go through and view all the details of that Google Introduction to Google Ads workshop on our website. And if you register using that GAds Web Scout promo code by 6 o'clock Tuesday, the 23rd of April, you'll get $50 off, which takes it back to our early bird price. We also have a bundle option where you can book both the Introduction to Google Ads and that Google Ads optimization workshop for a cheaper price. Again, can get that $50 off, so still get that at the early bird price. Or if you're comfortable with setting up Google Ads, then you can, but you're interested in looking at reviewing and interpreting your data, then feel free to just come along to that Google Ads optimization workshop in Adelaide. And if you are based anywhere else and are interested in our Google Ads training, do let me know, because I'm interested in doing some more travel. I'd love to come and see you, so let me know where. So this has got to be the first time I've actually finished a webinar online on time. This is amazing. Oh, I'd love to come to New Zealand, Nathaniel. I was looking at someone's post the other day on Instagram because I was there about 8 years ago, and I was thinking how much I'd love to go back. So yes, any recommendations would be good. I'll have to start a poll for where I can start going. So thanks very much for joining. If you know anybody who missed this, like I mentioned, the recording of the webinar will be available in the next hour or so, and you'll receive that automated email, which you can forward and people can register for it to watch it as well. That offer, that discount offer, is only available up until 6 o'clock on Tuesday night. We've extended a bit because of all the public holidays. So I do hope you have a wonderful long weekend and stay safe if you are traveling or going away. And if you do have any other questions, feel free to let me know as well. So either directly if you have those details, or through our social channels, and I'll hang around on the chat for about 5 more minutes if you've got any more questions that you want to pop into here. I didn't actually have a slide ready for our next webinar, but there will be another webinar in May. I believe it's the 15th of May. So terrible, I should know that. 15th of May, we're doing Getting to Know Google Search Console. So I did mention Google Search Console very briefly there in regards to researching your keywords. So I'll just be running through. If it's something that you're not familiar with, it'll be a good chance to have a look through Google Search Console. So thanks very much for joining. Where am I? I'll give you a little bye. So yeah, thanks very much for joining. I'll stay on the line for about 5 more minutes if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your week.